Guys, 18th edition of the Boxing Gossip podcast. We're rocking and rolling and we're live today. Delighted to announce we've got a full panel. We've got Jet, we've got Paul, we've got Sherry, and of course we've got Irish Tom. So full squad for you guys tonight. Just before we get into it, quick few shout outs that I want to give out before we get started. First and foremost, the last edition of the podcast number 17, was the most viewed podcast we've ever done. It got 2,500 views and 70 likes, so really want to give a quick shout out to everyone who tuned in to that and who supported it by leaving a comment or by hitting the thumbs up. That's certainly much appreciated. In line with that, huge shout out to everyone who takes the time on the panel to join each week, and everyone in the chat and everyone who gets involved with it. It's moving in the right direction, and I really appreciate the support. Secondly, I also want to give a shout out to another YouTube channel which is run by one of my very good friends, which is the Ultratech Sports Boxing YouTube channel. For my money, one of the best channels out there on YouTube at present. Some really fantastic content has gone up on that channel today. I've been speaking to Mr. Ultratech offline, and I know a lot of work has gone in from his perspective. So after you've finished watching this podcast, of course, do take the time to go and check out his channel. Some real top-class stuff. But busy show at our end tonight. Huge amount to discuss. We're going to be touching on Kell Brook as we get closer to the Golovkin fight. We're going to be touching on the Dillian Whyte Sexton saga. We're going to be talking Ricky Burns. We're going to be talking Eddie Hearn's potential Millennium Stadium bill. We're going to hand over to our PED correspondent, Irish Tom, for some news on Canelo versus Liam Smith. We're going to be talking Robert Guerrero and Angulo and all of those good stuff. So busy show tonight, and I think we're better than to start off with Kell Brook Golovkin. The fight is getting very, very close. We are now, I believe, 10 days away from fight night, so it really is upon us. And I wanted to start by raising the topic of Kell Brook's sparring. We've had Liam Williams in sparring, we've had Tommy Langford, we've had Liam Smith. An interesting choice of sparring partners there. And I wanted to discuss that and hear the panel's thoughts. So, Irish Tom, let's start with you tonight, mate. How are you doing, and what's your take on this situation?
Oh, I'm very confused. I don't know why you would spar predominantly light middleweight if you're going to fight a middleweight who destroys light heavyweights. It seems to make no sense to me. Like, I would think I would be sparring all super middleweights at a minimum. Yeah. But the one thing then, maybe they're afraid of. It depends what you want to do when you're sparring. You see, they might be more afraid of like injuries. Maybe that's why they don't spar big ones. But like, I just don't understand it. I don't know. Did you see the sparring footage, Gossip?
Yes.
Yeah, like, did you like? I thought the Kell Brook was getting hit quite cleanly, quite a lot, and he was pulling straight back. You could hear his coach saying it. Like, it doesn't look good. Like, you know, I thought it looked pretty bad. I don't know what he's trying to. He's like going to war with Liam Smith. I just don't see what his game plan is. I've got no idea what his game plan is.
I mean, it was too short a clip to really get a perspective on what's going on. But yeah, I did see Smith catching him, and there was one particular punch which was like a looping, swinging, like, you know, pub-type punch that Liam Smith landed on him flush, and that was a concern. And you know, I share your concerns about why he's fighting guys of those weight classes. I mean, we know Golovkin himself has sparred bigger men. We know he sparred George Groves. We know he sparred Sergei Kovalev. We know he sparred lots of these kind of world-class guys who are weight classes above him. So it seems bizarre that Kell Brook is actually sparring guys in the light middleweight class. You'd think that Kell Brook would need to work on the bigger guys. And yeah, certainly that backing up in straight line things. I know his trainer was very aware of that. That's something he's got to be very careful of against Golovkin. The one final thing I was going to say is I'm friends with Tommy Langford on Facebook, and Langford posted a photo of him and Brook after the spot. And I know Langford's a reasonably sized middleweight. I think Langford's about 6 foot, so he's
tall.
Bloody hell! Brook looked minuscule next to Langford. You know, I know we've talked about the size difference over and over and over again, but you know, Langford is a genuine middleweight, and he was towering over Brooks. So I wonder if they just don't want to take a gamble with the bigger guys on the lead up to a fight like this, mate.
Maybe, yeah. Like I think maybe their game plan doesn't include really worrying about size so much. You know, maybe they're more on about. Maybe they're thinking to optimize their speed. They want to go in against fast guys after they've. Maybe that's what they want to practice, because Golovkin is not that fast, and he's not that tall either. He's only probably about 5'10", I reckon.
Yeah.
But I still think he's about a good full 2 inches above Kell Brook. When you see Kell Brook standing beside him, he tilts his head back to try and look taller and all this shit. And I wouldn't be surprised, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if you're trying to build up a big fight like this, that if you say to Golovkin, wear flats, and you say to Brook, wear heels, anytime they're beside each other. You know, so it'll give one guy an extra half an inch or whatever, just in height, or, you know, so I reckon there's a lot of things going on like that to make the guys look the same. But I think when he's packing on all this extra muscle, like maybe he's worried about losing his speed, so maybe they have him sparring with fast guys, and that's kind of what all I can give them. I saw Kell Brook's interview as well on IFL, and there was some little thing he said in it how he's going to dance, you know, and I don't know whether he was just channeling Muhammad Ali, you know, just doing his lingo, but I get the impression that I think he's going to try and hit and move, and I don't see that lasting well when you add 20 pounds of extra fucking muscle on top.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I always say when a fighter is moving up in weight class that they should try and weigh in light. You know, there's no need to weigh in at the very top of the weight class. Try and weigh in light and keep your advantages in boxing speed. And yeah, Kell Brook was saying in that fight, he kept saying, sorry, in that interview, he kept saying, it's not just about power, it's not going to come down to power, but if I'm honest, I think it may well come down to just power. And Kell Brook's best bet is to be moving, to be on his bike, to be out of range, to be, you know, a very, very mobile target using his speed advantage. And that weight for me is going to be a negative over the course of 12 rounds.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to keep moving, and like the power is a massive thing. Like Golovkin in sparring apparently broke Kovalev's jaw and knocked him spark out.
He broke George Groves' ribs as well.
He broke George Groves' ribs. Now they're fellas 1 and 2 weight classes above him, and so like if he gets caught flush, you know, as he starts getting tired, he could get very badly hurt. I've been watching. I was saying to Chet there on his live show last night, I've been watching loads of fucking Golovkin fights. I'm really up for Golovkin. I love Golovkin. I love watching him fight. I think he's an amazing style. And when I've looked at these, I've looked at nearly every night. I've watched a full fight of his for the last week, and I just cannot see anything. Like I can't give Kell Brook any fucking chance. I think 1-33 is what I think it is, and that sounds very negative. So, but poor old fucking Kell, he's in for a hammering.
Mate, I agree. We'll come back to this next week, I'm sure, in the lead up to the fight with final predictions. But it sounds like we're on the same page at this particular point. Sherry, let's bring yourself in, mate. Liam Williams, Tommy Langford, Liam Smith, would they be the sparring partners you'd be picking if you were managing Kell?
I'm pretty sure we can all agree that's a no. But look, it's a tough one because I think myself, you know, Kell Brook, like, what would the list have been ideally? You know, like in the UK, when you think of middleweights, like, you know, we're going to present you with a challenge.
James DeGale.
Say again, sorry.
James DeGale, Chris Eubank Jr.
That's what I'm thinking. I was thinking of
Callum Smith,
bigger, but I don't think Kell Brook is going to go in there to fight, you know, in that way. I think what they're trying to do is see how he looks in sport. Obviously, they keep saying that he sparred at heavyweight and he's good at 160, but they're going to say all that. Obviously, look, from the snippets we've seen, he hasn't looked particularly brilliant, but it's only the snippets we've seen, and sparring doesn't necessarily translate into the ring on the night. But we've all got our concerns going into this fight regardless. But yeah, the sparring he's had, when you look at the names, it's not, you know, it leaves a lot to be desired. You know what I mean? Chris Eubank Jr. and him would have been brilliant because would have added a bit more spice to the whole situation. But I just don't get it. It's again we're only what 9 or 10 days away, and I don't see this ending well for Kelman. I really don't. I'm trying to find some sort of hope as him being the British boxer, but I can't see him doing anything that's going to bother him. I really can't.
Definitely. No, I'm with you there, mate. So it's been fairly consistent in terms of people you're speaking to and you're seeing online. Does your sort of point of view there seem to? I mean, are you aware of people picking Kell Brook? I think I heard that. I forget your friend's name, mate, but the guy who runs Be Real TV, has he come out and picked Kell, or have I got that wrong?
No, he hasn't picked Kell. He's backing Kell, like the same way we'll all be backing him. But he said it a bit more openly. He's not picking Kell because he said he can't see the way Kell can win. But he said if he does something special on the night, then he's backing him, all the way. Which is fair enough. I think we can all agree we would back Kell as a British boxer.
I don't. I'm Irish. I'm not backing him. I'm backing
fair enough.
Golovkin.
I mean, look, I'm saying just like as a British pride, and that he's our fighter. He's at home. If there's ever a chance he can do it, it's not going to get any better than this. But he's not really got a chance anyway. But I want Kell to win, but I can't see him doing it. But it's one of those things with this whole. Eddie Hearn did the interview yesterday, and he said the weight won't be a factor. It's going to be a factor, guys. We know that. It doesn't matter what weight he walks around at or how big he comes into the ring. He has never boxed in a real life boxing match. No headgear, this, that, the other, the atmosphere, everything. High stakes at that weight. He's never boxed at that weight. If you're going into a ring against, the guy we're saying is pound for pound, the best middleweight in the world, and pound for pound, top 10, top 5, whatever you want to call it, how are you going to last against a guy who's breaking ribs of super middleweights and hurting light heavyweights and, rumored, to never have been knocked down and all this business? I don't see how Kell Brook is going to pose a problem. Like we said last week, he's not a power puncher. He's not got, fleet-footed movement. He hasn't got the best combination punching. He's just all-round good at everything. But is that enough to challenge Gennady Golovkin? I don't see it.
Yeah, we have weight classes for a reason. It's a cliche, but it's so true, and it's even more relevant when we're talking 2 weight classes as opposed to 1. Jet, let's bring yourself in here. Let's talk about these sparring partners, mate. Who would you be picking?
Yeah, I mean, me and Irish Tom talked about it yesterday on my live show on my channel, and we spoke about you've got to be sparring the sort of 168 guys, super middleweights, even pushing the smaller light heavyweights. You were talking James DeGale, Badu Jack, Callum Smith, Gilberto Ramirez, those sort of guys. I mean, I know they're tall and everything, and they're probably chunky as DeGale's nickname goes, but they're much bigger guys. I mean, to be going against as Sherry said, one of the best fighters on the planet currently, with a domestic level sparring, Liam Smith. Let's be honest. Liam Smith is not a universally ranked top 5 light middleweight. Liam Williams is not even a top 15, top 20 light middleweight who's universally ranked. And that's not to discredit their achievements. Liam Smith is a world champion, and he's facing Canelo next. And Liam Williams is a British and Commonwealth champion. But in terms of sheer skill, can they hold a candle to Gennady Golovkin? They can't. It's as simple as that. He should be going over to the States, find the sort of fighters that are going to come forward, maybe not be as educated and as subtle as Golovkin, because he does have subtleties in his game that people don't pick up on. Excellent footwork, cut off the ring. He suffocates opponents, and obviously, you might not get someone like that, but maybe David Lemieux, Curtis Stevens, maybe that sort of guy. Just come forward, pressure fighter who's going to throw big bombs as well. That sort of fight. I mean, Tommy Langford is bang average. I mean, he's poor. He's a poor sparring partner. He's a probably southern area English level fighter, to be honest. And then I'm expecting Chris Eubank Jr. to blow him out. I'll be honest. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what the Ingles seem to know what they're doing at a certain level, and I think they're just way out of their depth on this. He looked bad in the sort of snippet. It was a snippet, but he did look bad. And Liam Smith was catching him with some unorthodox shots, with which Golovkin throws. He doesn't really throw his left hook sometimes with in an orthodox sort of position. He throws a short left hook coming in from a wide sort of, it's wide and looping. So I mean, I don't know how he's going to fare, and there's no way I can see Kell Brook winning this fight. Absolutely no way. He's a Brit and everything. You support him, but in reality, there is no chance of him winning this fight. Absolutely no chance. Especially on the footage as well. He looked to be really, really struggling. I think he's too heavy. He's coming too heavy. I think he should come in 156, 157. But I think it's already been done. So he's put on too much muscle. He won't be coming down to 147. I think he's going to vacate, and Spence will fight for the vacant title probably.
He looks muscle bound, lads, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks really like.
His arms look too fucking big for his body shape.
Yeah, there was a picture. I think Eddie Hearn posted a picture on Twitter earlier, and he looked like, in terms of his shoulders have gone significantly bigger. His arms have gone significantly bigger. I mean, I don't think this is a smart idea. I think we spoke about it yesterday, Tom, as well. I don't know. I don't know what he's been playing at, what his camp's been playing at, and I think he should have come in light and just retained something, because Eddie Hearn said he was going to use the jab all night, and if he's using the jabs, I don't want to know what's going to happen to the guy. I fear that something bad's going to happen to Kell Brook. So
I retweeted something today. World Boxing News tweeted the following: Hearn, look at Brook's arms and don't underestimate him. And I retweeted it. If biceps won wars. I mean, what are we on about? Look at Brook's arms and don't underestimate him. Is it that simple? If I go and do a few bicep curls, could I smack up Sergey Kovalev next week? I think people are getting it a bit twisted. For me, the big biceps are a big negative, actually. Brook needs to be on his bike for 12 rounds, firing a swift jab. It's not very positive to have an extra pound of muscle on each arm.
Gossip, you're just jealous because your guns are now under threat there.
This is it, mate. He's stepping up to my weight classes now, so I've got to be a bit careful.
I thought you could only make cruiserweight.
Mate, how dare you? How dare you? Give me 6 months, so I could be a middleweight. Chris Eubank Jr., Anthony Ogogo, I'm coming for you.
You're going to amputated leg there, are you?
Let's bring Paul in. Paul, how are you doing, mate? What's your take on the sparring situation?
Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. I was trying to figure out what their thinking was with these sparring partners. I mean, obviously Liam Smith is a pressure fighter and does throw punches from weird angles, as Jet just pointed out, and maybe that's what they're thinking. I mean, as I said at the start, kind of like Callum Smith rather than Liam Smith should have been in that collective of sparring partners. I don't get it. I don't get how Tommy Langford prepares Kell Brook to move up to 160 for the first time in his career and fight easily the best middleweight in the world. I really don't. And I was trying to figure out why he's putting on so much bulk. Maybe he thinks he's going to hug him and he's trying to give himself some extra strength so as he actually is able to hug him. I don't know. I mean, I too give Kell Brook absolutely no chance, no matter what angle I look at this fight from. I do not see a way that Kell Brook wins. I just don't. Even the dancing around, Golovkin cuts the ring off much too well. I just think he's just going to corner him and unload. I see this as a complete mismatch and an early win for Triple G, to be honest.
I agree, mate. Do you know what? As we've got closer to the fight, more and more people I know. I was actually I grabbed some lunch with someone today, and they were asking me about the fight, and they said, "I just think Kell Brook's the superior boxer. I just think Kell Brook might have the smarter skills." And I said to him, like, this was more of a casual fan than we are, and I said to him, like, just out of interest, where did you get this from? Obviously, you've got Golovkin's amateur pedigree, 300 amateur fights, unbeaten professional record, dominant performances. Where is this coming from, this perception that Kell may outbox him, Kell may have the edge technically? Because I see Kell as a much more limited technical fighter than Golovkin. Kell's a good technical fighter, don't get me wrong, but Kell's not very versatile. He lacks an inside game. He lacks punches to the body. He hasn't got a full punch variety range, you know. But I think that the public perception seems to be that Kell Brook is some sort of superior boxer, which is something I completely disagree with. Is that something you've seen, Paul? And is this the Eddie Hearn hype machine starting to work?
Well, yeah, possibly. I mean, and possibly it's the fact that British fans have seen more of Kell Brook. Maybe the casual fan may not have seen Golovkin, or may not know what they're looking at without wanting to sound like pompous or anything. Some people don't actually know what they're looking at when they watch a boxer fight. If you look at this as a matchup, I don't see anywhere in it that Brook is better, even from a technical point of view. Even if you forget the size difference, even if you forget the fact that Golovkin is dropping light heavyweights and knocking them out, and he apparently knocked. I heard this recently that he actually dropped and couldn't continue. Kovalev with a body shot. I don't know if anybody else heard that, but that actually came from a really good source as well. I just don't see. I also don't get that Kell Brook's the superior technical fighter. Jab, no. You know, the way Golovkin sets up, he looks like he's anticipating things, but what he's actually doing is 3 or 4 moves ahead, and he sets things up so well. I just think it's a gross mismatch, and I actually really genuinely fear for Kell Brook. I fear for him. And in that interview, did anybody else think he actually looks like he believes he's going to win?
Well, here I've got a question. No, I don't agree that he thinks. I think they've done a lot of psych work with him, and he's looking a bit better. But when it was announced, he looked like he was fucking afraid of his shite. It was like you're throwing a fox into a fucking hen house.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's genuinely confident at all. His body language is all wrong. Keeps looking away. Like whenever he says anything about I'm gonna win it, like he's not making eye contact with me. He's fidgeting a lot. He doesn't look confident at all to me. He looks like somebody that's trying to pretend to be confident.
Yeah, like the one thing I'd say as well is that no, sorry, I have a question to ask. So, Gossip, are you still saying this is a good fight?
As I said, it all depends how you define good fight.
I know, but do you still think it's after when it's stewed for like a couple of months now? Do you still think it's a good fight? Like,
you mean a competitive fight, don't you?
Is it a competitive fight? No, but I have said no from the start. I very, very early on said I give Kell no chance in the fight. Is it a great event that I am very much looking forward to? Yes. Is it an event that we'll discuss and will enjoy discussing? Yes. Is it something that will probably give me far more excitement than most 50-50 fights? I've got to be honest, yes. It's a fantastic story. It's some fantastic characters. It's going to be something that really is of huge interest and excitement to me personally. And I'm not one of these who says that it's going to be terrible because it's not a 50-50 fight, So from my perspective, great event, great occasion, real excitement, something I'm really looking forward to. But at the same time, I can say that it's not a competitive fight.
Well, I'm just looking forward to GGG kicking the fuck out of Kell Brook. But I must say though that like getting excited for this fucking fight, we might as well be going to a hanging, lads.
You're excited for it, Tom.
I'm excited to GGG. I just fucking love GGG. But I'm not excited for this fight. I don't think it's a good fight. I'm excited because it's GGG, but I don't think it's a good fight. And like this is just we're like a bunch of fucking people going into fucking Tower London to go look at a good hanging. That's what's going on.
I'm more excited for this fight than I am for, say, like Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora.
Oh, Jesus. The bar has been set high
in there because Paul has very neatly introduced our second topic of the night. So let me just introduce that briefly.
Thought I'd segue there for you, Tom.
I'm going to mute myself for a half hour now.
Okay. Dillian Whyte versus Sam Sexton, or should I say Dillian Whyte versus Lamb Sexton, referring to the now infamous IFL TV interview. Me personally, not really interested in that fight. I don't view Sam Sexton as good a fighter as David Allen, if I'm completely honest. I actually think it could be a lesser fight than Dillian Whyte versus Dave Allen. And for me, I don't see that as a competitive fight. I don't really give Sam Sexton any chance whatsoever in that fight. The Chisora fight, it's a better fight. For me, Chisora is a better fighter than Sam Sexton. I believe he's actually fought and beat Sam Sexton twice. I know Chisora's come up a bit short at the top level, but it's he's fought at a higher level than Dillian Whyte, certainly. He's also a better character. So looks like this is the fight that we're headed to. Interestingly, Eddie Hearn has also mentioned a potential fight in the interim, assuming Sexton doesn't happen and Chisora happens in December, could be a fight in the interim with an American opponent, such as Tony Thompson or Antonio Tarver. Now, I think that's an interesting angle as well. Paul, seeing as you raised it, let's start with yourself, mate, before we maybe move on to Surrey. But yeah, what's your take on the Dillian Whyte situation? You mentioned it was of less interest.
Yeah, I mean, like Chisora looked awful against Pulev. I considered Chisora a shot fighter. He looked shot in that fight, and he's not getting any younger. Yeah, he's fought a higher caliber of opposition, but I just really struggled to get excited about that. Sam Sexton, I think he's on roughly the same level as Dave Allen. To be honest, I don't think there's much in it.
Yeah.
Tarver, I don't think is very likely. Tony Thompson probably slightly more likely, but also not too likely. To be honest, I struggle to get excited about Dillian Whyte full stop anymore. The last two fights, he just didn't look good to me at all. He seems to have a lot of issues. He's not a fighter that excites me, and that's what I meant. You know, it's kind of like, is Kell Brook, Gennady Golovkin competitive? No. Am I looking forward to it? Hell yeah, I can't fucking wait. You know, it's just I struggle to get excited about any of those fights, mate. To be honest.
Who do you pick in Whyte Chisora then, mate? Do you come down strongly on one side or the other?
No, not really. I think for me it depends on whether Chisora is actually shot or that was just a bad performance. I guess time will tell. If Chisora, if it's the latter and he's not actually shot, then I'd probably lean towards Chisora. To just make it horrible for Dillian Whyte and just rough him up on the inside and take him to places he doesn't want to go. I just so yeah, I mean it all depends, but I don't lean heavily on one side or the other. No, to be honest.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Sorry, let's bring you in. What's your take on the Sexton, Chisora, Thompson, Tarver list of opponents? What's of your interest for Dillian Whyte?
As a British fan, I like Dillian Whyte. I think he brings a lot of fun and just, you know, he's one of those guys you can always have a good laugh with when you watch his interviews, and you know that, you know, at press conferences he's going to give you your money's worth in that regard. But let's be honest now. Why the hell is Antonio Tarver even going to consider coming over to fight Dillian Whyte? Who's Dillian Whyte in the larger scheme of things? Who is he? He's no one. He's a guy who got knocked out in round 7 against Anthony Joshua. And the reality of it is, and it's not to be harsh against Dillian Whyte. He's not going to be a world champion, not in this current scale of heavyweights. Yeah, he's not going to be a world champion. His claim to fame will always be that second round punch and then the first round, end of the first round, the fiasco with the people jumping in the ring and all that. Unfortunately, that's the way I see his career going. Not saying he's going to get knocked out 10 times, not like that, but I can't see how he's going to shoot up the totem pole in the heavyweight division. It's not just about his last 2 performances. They haven't been, of course, up to par. But you've got Tyson Fury, you've got Hughie Fury one day who's up and coming. You got Joshua, you got Wilder. There's too many of there's a golf in talent there, unfortunately, for me. Dillian Whyte against Sam Sexton, I don't really want to see that fight. There's nothing in it for me. I'd like to see Dillian Whyte versus Chisora. There's a bit of again, that's because of the build-up. The same way that Joshua and Chisora had a good build-up. That's going to be a lot of spite in the fight. Chisora, I think he's shot personally, if I'm honest with you. I thought he was shot before his last performance, if I'm honest. But look, I like Dillian Whyte personally. I think he's all right, but I don't see what sort of value he'll hold. And of course, look, I look at it this way with Eddie Hearn. Did anyone watch the Eddie Hearn interview yesterday?
Yes.
Okay, did you see the way he answered the phone with Kell? Okay, it's two totally different things. But it was kind of just the way I read the body language and the way he answered the phone. With Kell Brook, this is a guy who's been trying to put the hype machine behind for 3 or 4 years and he's never really taken off. Now, Dillian Whyte, the way I see this, Eddie Hearn's a very smart businessman. His cash cow is Anthony Joshua, and he knows that Dillian Whyte down the line in Joshua in a rematch is an easy fight to make for him as a promoter. He'll get more money, and it's just it's just a big fight for the casual British public. But the way he answered the phone and the way he spoke to Dillian Whyte, for me, he's just signed him up for a few fights just to get the AJ rematch eventually. I'm just he doesn't really care about him. I don't get that sort of vibe from him. But Dillian Whyte, yeah, look, he's a decent fighter, but I just don't see what he's going to present down the line unless he just becomes a brilliant boxer overnight. But that's just my opinion on him.
I think you're probably right, mate. The one thing I disagree with is I do think the likes of Tarver would come over to fight him because I think British boxing is so booming, and Tarver's probably looking at the likes of Shannon Briggs coming over and trying to break the scene here. And let's be honest, Tarver's probably not getting much luck getting opponents out there. So I think they look at guys like Dillian Whyte as a payday at this stage. That they see how many tickets we sell, they see how many pay-per-views we do, and I think Tarver probably wants a piece of that pie as he's coming towards the end of his career.
Yeah, but the money that Tarver would make, what do you even think he'd make? I don't think he'd make a lot of money.
100 grand maybe?
It's not worth it, is it? There's no need for him to come here. You can still make more money there, fighting unknown guys, you know what I mean? PBC is still paying, pretty high purses, let's be honest. I mean, this weekend you had Robert Guerrero earning $500,000 against a guy who beat him and earned $30,000. So you put it I know it's a totally different ball game, but I don't see someone like Antonio Tarver, who's been a former world champion, multiple-time world champion, and fought some of the top fighters out there. I don't see him coming to fight Dillian Whyte coming over here.
I think he's broke, mate, and I don't think he's getting any fights out there after his steroid scandals and his PED scandals.
Maybe one day he'll fight him, but I just don't see it being here. And number 2, I don't think it's the next fight by any means. I think Eddie Hearn's just taking advantage of the name of Antonio Tarver. Maybe Thompson, but I don't know.
Interesting stuff.
And like Tarver about 65.
He's 47, mate. Yeah. So he's slightly younger than Luis Ortiz, but he is. He's no youngster. 47 is you're a senior man when you're a few years older than Shannon Briggs, a few years older than Tony Thompson, half a decade older than the Klitschko brothers. It's not pretty, is it?
Autumn of his career, to say the least, isn't it?
Yeah, winter, I guess, is the way of phrasing it.
Indeed.
Yeah. Jet, let's bring you in. Obviously, keen for your take on Sexton and Chisora. Before we do, I want to throw something out there, and I want your take on it, mate. I think Dillian Whyte is a level above Sam Sexton. I think he's a similar level to Chisora, but I think he's got less miles on the clock than Chisora. And I think stylistically they're similar fighters, so the younger, fitter man may win. But I actually think a guy like Antonio Tarver or a guy like Tony Thompson at this stage would probably beat Dillian Whyte. And I'm not necessarily saying those guys particularly, but that sort of bracket of opponent, the Malik Scotts, the Tony Thompsons, the Tarvers, the Steve Cunninghams, What I'm talking about is the highly experienced, very, very, very strategic chess player boxers who will take a look at you, try and find the gaps, try and counterpunch, try and old man you. I actually think Dillian Whyte is so technically open. I think the construction of his punches is so poor, and I think the way he lunges in, I actually think those guys will be having a look at him and thinking that they could well beat him. So, what's your take on that, mate?
Yeah, Sexton's shit. He sucks. He's terrible. Dillian Whyte's going to beat him when they face off for the British title. I know that seems a bit harsh, but Sexton's he's not a good fighter. He's a poor fighter. Chisora, I don't have any desire to see Chisora in the ring again. The loss, I actually picked him to beat Pulev, and he was absolutely woeful that night. He was so bad. It was, just words cannot describe how bad he was that night. And then how he got a 115-113 split by one of the judges was totally beyond me. That was a joke. But yeah, I mean, that fight, it will probably be similar to like Dave Allen, Dillian Whyte in terms of the build-up, but the fight, it will completely flatter to deceive. It won't be any good at all. That's a sort of pick and fight, what you like, I guess, because Dillian Whyte might just try and box like he did against Dave Allen, I guess, in that fight. But yeah, that looks all but set for December, I think. In terms of Tarver, you said Tarver and
Cody Thompson.
I think Thompson is probably on his way out, very much so, in terms of the last opponent he faced was Luis Ortiz. He doesn't come into the ring in tremendous sort of shape as it is. He always handles a bit of fat on him. So I think generally I think that might be a struggle for him just to get into decent fighting shape after his recent loss. So Thompson might be out off the cards. Thomas Ademic said he wanted to come back. I read on Boxing Scene. That might be a good opponent. I think Thomas Ademic could probably still do a number on Dillian Whyte. Antonio Tarver's pretty defensively cute, to be honest. He could do a number on Dillian Whyte. I think he can beat him. That sort of level, I think. I know, Glaskov is coming back off a knee injury and that sort of stuff, and people say he's world level, but I don't think he's necessarily that highly rated. I think he got a few gift decisions against Malik Scott and Steve Cunningham, those sort of guys. I think someone like him, an operator like him, could probably beat Dillian Whyte as well. What you said was correct. The construction of Dillian Whyte's punches is very poor, and his conditioning is just ultimately not very good either. So I don't know. It's one of those tough ones. I mean, people like Dillian Whyte because he has a big mouth, I guess, and he's always entertaining. He's value for money. But in terms of just moving up in the heavyweight division, I think his path will be severely blocked unless Eddie Hearn, kind of maneuvers his way around and fiddles his way through to a Joshua rematch, I'm sure.
Interesting stuff, mate. Okay. Tom, do you want to get in on this one, or shall I introduce the next topic and bring you in first, mate?
Well, I just want to say that I'm fucking getting sick of all Dillian Whyte's fucking shtick already. Like, he's just making up fucking, like, fake slags for your man, for Sam Sexton. Like, it's just...
the Lamb Sexton story is incorrect.
I'm not sure. Because I've got a lot of experience with sheep, as you well know, and it's very difficult to put wellies on sheep. So that leads me to believe that this story, well, if it is true, it's been embellished somewhat. But seriously, like, I think in about 6 fights' time, will be kind of Dillian Whyte will have a loss or two, and he'll be trying to fight somebody, and he'll make up some fake crap and put on an IFL, and then at that stage, we'll be all looking like this is fucking the second coming of Ricardo Mayorga, and we won't give a fuck.
It's Ricardo Mayorga versus Shane Mosley all over again.
Yeah.
And all that crap. I mean, he's just spewing, isn't he? Sam Sexton and Derek Chisora are scared of me. Scared of what? I mean, he hasn't done anything for anyone to be scared of him. I don't understand what his problem is, honestly.
Okay, let's move on to the next topic, and Tom, will come to you first on this one, mate. For those who don't know, Ricky Burns is scheduled to fight Kirill Relik. Now, for those of you who don't know Kirill Relik, and I think that will probably be the majority of you, certainly I wasn't aware of him. He is 21-0 with 19 KOs. He's rated extremely highly on BoxRec. They actually have him as the top light welterweight in Belarus, which is quite some accolade. Globally, they have him as the 229th best light welterweight, and his nickname is the Mad Bee. So there's a few real good bits of trivia for you on Kirill Relik. 4 fights ago, he fought an opponent whose record was 10-37. So I guess on paper he looks a decent opponent. His KO ratio is high. Questionable what level that he's operated at. The fact BoxRec have him at 229th suggests a very low level. Now, I did search for him on various boxing forums, and even on the forums people were questioning, who is he? I've never heard this guy. And that's really where the boxing fans, the real hardcore tend to hang out. So I'm unsure how many of us will have seen footage of him, but that fight is scheduled to go ahead. Perhaps more interestingly, Eddie Hearn has said that should Ricky Burns be successful in that fight, Adrian Broner is all but confirmed for a December fight in the States. So I'm keen to discuss how both fights will go. Will Burns have a chance of beating Relik and fighting Broner? Can Broner still make 140? I also think it's the question to ask if Burns is actually a 140 fighter himself, because I've never been really convinced about that throughout his entire career. But Irish Tom, let's hand over to you. Your take on the Ricky Burns situation, please, mate.
I actually watched one of these guys' fights today because I'd never ever heard of him. Like, even Radosevich that fought Liam Smith, I think he was ranked 60th on BoxRec. You're in the 200s. You're really scraping the barrel. I saw him fighting some guy, I don't know, I think he was a Brazilian. So it might have been his last one, or it might have been 2005 Santos de Jesus. I think that's the one I saw. But he doesn't look that good. Against this guy, is a low-level guy I saw him against. And when he kind of got him hurt, he was really extremely wild, not great technique. He's one of Ricky Hatton's, isn't he?
That's right, mate, yeah.
Your Ricky Hatton stable is, pretty poor, Ricky's a very small-time promoter, so I wouldn't be expecting too much. How do you get it? I mean, ranked 220, not even in the top 100 do you get a title shot. That is fucking beyond belief. Like, I've never heard of this guy, and I doubt anybody on this panel has ever heard of him before, because we've never ever heard of anyone he's ever fucking fought. Not a fucking hope. So this is a shit show of a fight. I hope this is not fucking headlining in Scotland. Some poor Scottish bastards.
Yeah.
They're going to be.
Yeah. What's your take on his nickname, mate? The Mad Bee.
I think it's a very, very eloquent title, and I think he must have put a lot of work into it. Because what do you not want to meet? Like when you wake up in the morning in your bedroom, a bee that's crazed.
Oh dear. What about a Broner fight, Tom?
Oh, I'd like to see that. Yeah, I think that's a decent fight. Probably both. I think Ricky's got a chance in that fight. And Broner is such an unlikable fella. It's good to see him in that fight. I'd like to watch a fight him every day just to see him getting punched in the face.
He's just out of jail, isn't he? But the thing I think is, I look at Ricky Burns, and for me, Ricky Burns is not a 140 fighter. He looks a bit bloated at 140 for me. I don't even think he's the biggest 135-pound fighter, if I'm honest. And you look at Adrian Broner, he's a guy who regularly weighs in the 170s, 180s outside the ring, and he's someone who routinely misses weight. You just wonder if come the night of the fight, Broner could be, like a Canelo versus Khan situation, be a couple of stone heavier.
Well, I don't think Broner can actually swell up that much. But the thing is, though, that I think the reason why Ricky Burns has gone up in weight is that there's more money at light welter than there is at lightweight.
Yeah.
I think you probably get twice the money nearly.
I think that's it. I think the vacancy came up to fight DeRocco. I thought that they saw the gap and saw the potential at light welterweight,
but he was already fighting there beforehand. He fought your man, what you call the guy?
Yeah,
missed weight by about 15 pounds in the next fight. What was his name?
Figueroa,
yeah. He fought him at 140. Did Figueroa even not make the weight that time as well?
Yeah, he was above the weight. It happened again. He moved up to welterweight, and I think he weighed in at
151 or something.
Yeah.
So I think there's just more money there, and that's why he's there. Because he lost his fucking shirt when he got the wrong side of Frank. Poor bastard.
Absolutely. Let's move over to yourself, mate. Your take on the Ricky Burns fights and both potential fights. You're on mute, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just fiddling about. Yeah, I mean, I'll be the nerd of the group, and I heard of Kirill Relic only because he was in the WBA rankings. I watched one of his fights earlier on in his career, but I was never really impressed too much by him. I saw one of his recent fights. I can't remember which one.
How on earth did you come across him earlier on in his career?
Don't ask. I have no clue, but.
Because just now you brought it up. Earlier on in his career, he was in notable classes.
No, I'm smelling bullshit.
No, I'll be honest. No,
he fought Rakhim Mingalayev, who's 27 and 65. Sarai Apanonin, who's 1 and 14.
They're not even real names. They're not even real names. They're just made up syllable combinations.
In fact, he didn't fight outside of Belarus for his first 15 fights.
No, there was some YouTube or compilation, I don't know what it was, but I watched one of his recent fights and he looked okay. He didn't look too bad actually. I thought he looked alright. I don't know. You're probably right with Burns being bloated at 140, but I thought he didn't look too bad at 140 against DeRocco. I mean, against Figueroa, he looked a bit fleshy. He looked okay against DeRocco. He looked a bit slightly bulky. I know he's very, very slim and slender, but he looked alright against him. This is a tough fight. I mean, I know he hasn't really fought anyone of note at all, and he's in the 200s, but I haven't an idea why he's #1 rated by the WBA. But Ricky Hatton fighter. Probably some promotional money on the side or whatever. It could be a tough night's work for him. It may be similar to the Chelo Gonzalez fight, if you guys remember that, when there was not much footage on Gonzalez, very, very little. He might struggle with Relic, but I would put my money on Burns just about. I'd make him a slight favorite. In terms of the Adrian Broner fight, I don't think Adrian Broner can make 140 anymore. Against Ashley Theophane, he said he was cutting ridiculous amount of weight, and he said he really tried to get off the last pound, and that probably is right because he weighed up until about 170, I think 171. He came in on the night. So I mean, I don't see that fight at 140, and I don't think Ricky's going to go up to 147 because he's going to be a massive disadvantage there. So I don't know what Eddie Hearn's planning for him, but if I was Eddie and his team, I think you might as well milk that Glasgow money while you can, because there's only so much you can get from Ricky Burns at this stage in his career, and it looks like he's in the sort of autumn of his career as well.
Yeah, I would suggest that that fight will take place at 140. The reason that Broner would want to take Ricky Burns out there to the States for that fight is to get the 140 belt and to try and win another world championship. So Broner can say how many times he's been a world champion. And I guess from Ricky's perspective, given that Ricky is as we know, has had well publicised financial hardships, I guess if Broner misses the weight by a couple of pounds and has to pay Ricky a huge fine off the back of that, that probably wouldn't be the worst thing for him, But it's an interesting one. I certainly don't think Ricky's got any business at 147, let alone 140. But there we go. Seri, let's bring your take in, mate. How do you see a Burns-Broner fight going? Is that a fight where Ricky Burns has a chance?
I mean, first of all, the fight at hand I have no interest in. I don't really care. If the guy is ranked that lowly on BoxRec, it kind of like, I'm not saying BoxRec is the Bible, but it pretty much sums it all up for us, doesn't it? Never heard of the guy. Eddie Hearn probably found him from bloody some random corner of the world and managed to get him, to sign up for this fight. Obviously, he's got a chance at a world title, but Ricky Burns is not even a 140 fighter, like we said. He's not. I agree with you, Tom. I don't think at all. Obviously, he had an opportunity. He took it. I think he fought at 140 against Omar Figueroa, didn't he? I think, or was it 135, and then Figueroa came in really heavy.
40, yeah.
Exactly, and you saw in that performance, he didn't look particularly great. He's only had one other fight at 140, which was against Durocco, and Durocco we saw wasn't that good himself. Yes, okay, Ricky Burns. I think, look, he's got his world title now, and he knows that he beat this guy. And he's got, like you said, he's got a massive payday against Broner. I think, look, put it this way, that fight will happen, Broner and Ricky Burns, and Broner's going to smash him to pieces. Broner's younger, he's fitter, he's stronger, he's naturally a lot bigger. On the issue of the weight, I look at it this way. If Canelo can finally make 154 after 3 and a bit years, then why can't Broner go down to 140 after 9 months or a year? I don't see that being the worst thing he'd ever do. He wins a belt and then we see from there, but he's not going to fight Terence Crawford. That's not going to happen. But it's one of those things where Broner's kind of stuck. He's stuck because he has nowhere to go. Go to 147 and face the killers, and they're too big and too strong, as we saw with his fights against Maidana and Porter, or stay at 140 and the only guy you can really face is Bud, but then again that's another guy you want to avoid, so he's in a tricky situation. But Ricky Burns, I don't really see him as a world level fighter anymore. He got fortunate that obviously Broner got stripped. They took advantage of that. Sorry, no, this isn't for the super title. This is the regular
there's only one belt at 140.
My mistake. Yeah, I got into the wrong vibe there. But look, it was a vacant title anyway, so regardless, it wasn't really like the he beat a champion. But fair play, he got a world title, and let's see how long he holds on to it for. But I don't think Ricky Burns is going to be around for much longer.
Interesting stuff. Paul, what's your take on that fight, mate?
Yeah, I'd heard of Kirill Relic. I've not seen him, and I was trying to figure out where do I know him. I knew his name, and it was just from a Ricky Hatton interview. It was one of the IFL TV interviews. I can remember Ricky obviously trying to big him up, saying he was good and that, but obviously he's going to do that with his own fighter. Could be less interested in that fight if I'm honest. Like others have said, if he's ranked that low, I mean, what business has he got fighting for a world title? How do you I just don't get it. How do you fight for a world title at rank 200 and odd in the world? There's got to be 200 and odd people that go, hold on a minute.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Do you know what I mean? Broner fight, I don't think will happen. Like you said, Tom, I think the main attraction for Broner would be the belt. He's going to know that there's going to be a chance he's going to miss that weight. He missed weight on the Theophane fight. So if he misses weight, the belt, it's not going to be for the belt, is it?
No, not if he missed weight, no.
So I mean, I think that would be the only sort of like reason for Broner to take the fight, and I can't see him taking it, to be honest. Ricky Burns again, he's not a world level fighter anymore. Struggle to get interested in either of them, to be honest. I'd be interested if the Broner fight did happen, but I think Broner would beat him quite handily at this stage.
Interesting stuff. No, I totally agree with you there, mate. I think Broner's a real favourite in that one. I'm just going to, before we move on with the show, I'm just going to refer to an article that's just been sent to me on Twitter by Damien in the chat, because it's an interesting article, and it's on boxingscene.com, which, as you guys know, is a good website. I'm not going to read it out because it's fairly lengthy. In essence, it does suggest that Zolani Tete has been offered a Rigondeaux fight by Frank Warren, or maybe saying he's been offered the fight is strong, but Frank Warren has tried to make a Zolani Tete Guillermo Rigondeaux fight, and Tete has not taken the fight on the basis that Tete is naturally a superfly, but he's happy to fight at bantamweight. He's not happy to fight above bantamweight, which is where Rigondeaux fights. In the same article, they give suggestion that the reason Tete was actually fighting at bantamweight, not superfly, was that as part of being in the Frank Warren stable, it was a good idea for him to be in a different division to Paul Butler. More recently, Paul Butler has moved up from superfly to bantamweight, so he's now in the same division, and seemingly there's more pressure on Tete, having already beaten Butler, to get out of that division that Butler's in, because Butler seems to be Frank Warren's main priority. So seems to be a lot of Tete fans upset at the treatment that Tete is getting, and seeming to suggest that the promoter manager Frank Warren is giving Butler preferential treatment. A lot of other people sort of suggesting that Tete is a duck and shouldn't be ducking Rigondeaux, who may fight in a weight class above, but essentially is a smaller man than him. So I know that's breaking news. I know I'm just throwing that at you, and I probably haven't presented that in the most eloquent fashion. But anyone jump in if you've got an opinion on that?
I've unmuted myself.
Go for
it. So wait now a second here. A fella that's kind of naturally a bigger man than Rigondeaux, and who's one of the best fighters that's ever lived, Tete, is ducking Rigondeaux. Explain that one to me there, Gossip.
Well, in front of me, let me quote it briefly.
That facial expression told everything.
I'm telling you, he's on. And you can't be talking either. You went for fucking.
Yeah, no,
you went for Teddy as well. You shut your mouth there, Jet. Now.
No. I don't think he's fucking do that.
Oh, it's a party. It's a party.
What the fuck?
What the hell just happened? But no, I don't think he's ducking him. I honestly don't think so. I think this is Frank bloody shipping him off or something like that.
What about the quote in it where he says, he's too big for me"?
I mean, is Tete bigger than?
I'm looking at the article now, actually.
Yeah, I think Tete is a bigger man than Rigondeaux. But what I would say is, to be fair, if Tete wants to campaign at Superfly and he's gone up to bantamweight as a favour so he can be in the same stable as Butler, who he's already beaten, and who he doesn't want to conflict with. I don't think, I think it is fair for him not to want to move up another division to super bantam. Having said that, you would assume that the magnitude of that fight would merit it.
Yeah,
the
thing is, like, if he's a bigger man, then he could quite. I mean, it's obvious that he could make the weight. And if he's being offered the Rigondeaux fight, like you say, the sheer size of that fight, you would hope would kind of like, because look, at the end of the day, these fighters at these lower weights, they're not making much money. They're not making anything like what the welterweights are making or the middleweights or anything like that. So you would imagine when a fight like that comes up against a pound for pound fighter, you would assume that they'd be wanting to try and take it.
You'd assume so, yeah. You'd assume so.
Let me just quote him here. I've been offered to fight Rigo, but Rigo would be too big for me, even though he's 5 bigger than him and longer reach.
Sorry, say that again. Even
Yeah,
though
say that again, Tom. You were cutting out a bit, mate.
Sorry, he said he turned down the fight because I'd been offered to fight Rigo, but Rigo would be too big for me. He's 5 inches taller than him, and he's
but I can fit in the bantamweight division as well. That's what he said.
yeah, he's 5 inches taller than him, and he's got a longer reach. So I'm telling you right now, who's picking fucking Tete over Rigondeaux?
Me.
Yeah.
Come on, Rigo, you.
Interesting. Anyway, we'll. I'm sure
I'm gonna have to watch.
when more details emerge, because it's potentially an interesting topic. But
yeah,
yeah, let's.
I'm gonna have to watch myself here, or you're all gonna give me a fucking roasting for my obnoxiousness.
No, it's all in good spirit.
Let's talk about the proposed Millennium Stadium bill that Eddie Hearn referred to in his IFL TV interview this week. Potential for a big heavyweight bill. Joshua versus Parker, perhaps David Price versus Joshua versus Pulev, perhaps David Price versus Parker, maybe even Dillian Whyte versus Chisora on the bill. Let's start with yourself, Paul. Heavyweight night, back-to-back heavyweight fights, outlaw stadium in the winter. For me, it sounds too good to be true. I don't see it happening. What's your take on it, mate?
yeah, I don't see it happening, and I think that the Millennium Stadium's a bit a bit of a stretch, isn't it? I mean, I think that's about 70-odd thousand capacity. I mean, like, I don't know. AJ's a draw, of course, but Pulev's not known that well. Certainly not to casual fans. I mean, the average guy on the street is not going to know who Kubrat Pulev is. It's as simple as that. Chisora dwindle in interest, I would imagine at this stage. I don't see it happening either, and I don't think it belongs in a stadium either.
They'd have to make some serious pre-fight banter between Chisora and Dillian Whyte. You know, they'd have to have Chisora getting bottled, Dillian Whyte offering him out in the car park. You know, you'd have to have that sort of stuff going on. But Eddie Hearn did make a decent point, which is that the O2 holds best part of 20,000. And I know people complain about StubHub, and we won't go over that because we've been there before and stuff. But the fact of the matter is they are selling out events very quickly, selling out 20,000 tickets. Now, as Rob points out in the chat, I guess they don't have to sell out the Millennium Stadium to make it profitable, but the way they're selling out the O2 does suggest that AJ fighting anyone is going to sell 30,000, 40,000 tickets at present.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the costs involved in a stadium fight are much higher than they would be at the O2. So, I mean, they're going to be wanting to try and... I mean, I think you made the point kind of like in jest, but it's a really good point, actually, in that if the Chisora Dillian Whyte fight was on the bill, you can sort of like see a scenario in which, similar to the AJ Dillian Whyte saga last year, where, you know, the build-up pretty much made that what it was. And I suppose you can add AJ to that equation, and, you know, with things being right, I suppose you can see it being a success. Parker versus David Price, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I think the Team Parker seem to really want to get him on this AJ undercard. They seem very aware. I had an absolute idiot send me a message the other day. an abusive Joseph Parker fan sent me a message saying, why on earth would Joseph Parker come and fight on one of your British undercards? You Brits don't understand how good a fighter he is. Why would he demean himself by fighting on one of your undercards? And clearly someone who just doesn't understand boxing and doesn't understand business at all. So if you're watching, you are an idiot. But yeah, obviously, being a success in the New Zealand market does not equate to being a success in the global market, first and foremost. And secondly, Parker's smart. Team Parker are smart. They realise that if they go and knock out David Price in front of 50,000 fans at the Millennium Stadium, how much bigger did that Anthony Joshua payday just get? Because that would be a split.
Yeah, of course, and do you know what? On certain people's undercards may be demeaning. Being on Anthony Joshua's undercard, who is a world champion and who is probably, I mean, would we say other than maybe Manny Pacquiao, and if Floyd came back out of retirement, he's probably the hottest draw in boxing right now.
Yeah.
Would anybody disagree with that? I mean,
well, I guess biggest draw in boxing, you'd have to say probably Canelo, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but one of them, one of the biggest.
Yeah, one of them.
So, that's not a reason for Parker not to take the fight. That's just ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. But why do you not think it will happen then? Do you think it won't happen on the Price side or on the Parker side?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it in too much depth. It's just not a fight I see happening. I mean, Parker is fighting. I mean, he's fighting top fighters at the minute. You would assume that he would want to fight somebody maybe in the top 15 at least, the IBF. Price isn't in the top 15, is he?
He is in the top 15 of the IBF, mate. Yeah, he's quite high up actually because they reintroduced him after the Tepa no contest.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, well, I guess it's more likely then. I could be wrong. I'm tired, mate.
Not a problem. Sorry, let's bring yourself in. That heavyweight night at the Millennium Stadium, what's your view on that as an event? Is that something that gets your pulse racing, mate?
It doesn't necessarily get my pulse racing, but I look forward to it and I tune into it definitely. But it's very unrealistic. It's not going to happen, let's be honest. Let's leave it at that. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Why do you not? Do you think it would just be too much money to get it all on one bill? Do you think the fights are too hard to make? Why isn't it going to happen?
It's a lot of things that fall into place for that to happen, which I don't think would. And yes, money is a big part of that. And I think egos as well. I don't think Derek Chisora is going to want to be third match from the top against Dillian Whyte. Nor will Joseph Parker. Well, Parker's open to fighting on the undercard to build the Joshua fight, but if Parker loses David Price, that looks bad. If Price loses David Parker, his career's finished. Joseph Parker, his career's finished. It's too much of a risk for a lot of fighters. And the Millennium Stadium is a bit of a not necessarily. It's a good location, but it's a bit random, isn't it? It's one of those ones I don't know. Yes, okay, he's selling out the O2, but can they do it on a cold, wet night in November? I don't know.
That's it. Yes, maybe it isn't the most realistic. I do think commercially it could be a success. Jet, what's your take, mate?
Yeah, pretty much echoing the sentiment of the rest of the guys have mentioned. Very unrealistic. Egos play a big part. Derek doesn't want to be third from the top and that sort of stuff, and Dillian Whyte probably because they're trying to build him as well. Obviously, then the purses come into effect and that sort of stuff. I don't know. It's just it could be good value. I think they could probably make two fights, either one of the Parker Price or Whyte Chisora. I don't think they can make all three of them in terms of obviously AJ will fight, but I don't think they can make all three of them. It seems a bit too much of a stretch. But yeah, I mean, if one or two of the fights come to fruition and we get to see Parker on on our screens over here, it would build the fight and make a much better spectacle when it comes down to it, because Parker is obviously on pay-per-view in New Zealand, but that's nothing compared to UK pay-per-view or US pay-per-view. So to that idiot whoever emailed you, he hasn't a clue what he's talking about boxing, because the international market is everything. It's not just the New Zealand market or the oceanic market. So he needs to get his head out of his arse.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, you're spot on as far as I'm concerned. Tom, you're going to be leading off on the next topic, mate. But let's come to you first with regards to this Millennium Stadium bill. I get the impression it's going to be one you're going to be very negative about. But just in case you've got anything to offer, over to you, pal.
No, well, if you got all those 3 fights together, it wouldn't be the worst card in the world. I think it would be pretty good. 3, it reminds me of, if any of you remembers back in the 90s, Don King did a one where he had, I think, 6 heavyweight fights on the one thing. They were all up-and-coming fighters. It's when David Tua knocked out David Ruiz. Was it David Ruiz?
John Ruiz, is it?
John Ruiz, yeah. And your man got sparked. Let's Go Champ got sparked for the first time in that. So there was that was pretty good. So 3 heavyweight fights, all of it decent. Excepting like Chisora. I'd like to see Parker versus Price. So I think it'd be pretty good. I don't know how it would sell. I don't know what type of crowd you'd have to get in to make as much money as an O2 fight. Because I don't think you'll be able to price the tickets as expensive if it's going to be in Cardiff. Because people are going to have to travel and all that kind of stuff to fill it up. You're not going to get 50,000 Welsh guys, or I think you're going to have to get a lot of people from London and from the Midlands and stuff to go. So whether it works, like if it was Fury versus AJ, you know what I mean? Fucking sell it out straight away.
Yeah.
But you don't need an undercard. But with Pulev, I don't know. But if it happens, it happens. I would think it'd be a pretty decent undercard.
Definitely. Okay, Tom, let's go to you on the next topic. This is one you suggested. I've read the headline, but I haven't read the story. But it certainly appears that Canelo versus Liam Smith won't be doing VADA testing, which seemingly was something that was initially agreed. Now, as I say, I've read the headline. I don't know the story. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know why this decision's been come to. Tom, you are the PED correspondent. Give us your take on this. Perhaps if you've read the story, give us a bit more background as well, mate.
I actually haven't. I don't think I've come across any explanation for it. So as far as I'm aware, they both just agreed a few weeks before the fight not to do it. And that probably means, if you're asking me, that the suspicion is that Canelo can't make weight without a diuretic. And if he takes a diuretic, he fails a drug test. And Liam Smith going like, fuck it, I don't care if he takes a diuretic. I'm not going to lose sleep over £1. I'm going to get $1 million or $2 million or $3 million for the fight. So he's like, fuck it, I don't care. That's the way I look at it.
I've got a quote here which seems very, very weak to me. This is from the website boxingnewsonline.net, and they say, Golden Boy will promote the show at the AT&T Stadium in Dallas. Their senior vice president, Eric Gomez, says, we tried to start the program. Unfortunately, it was late. There wasn't enough time to get the full benefits of VADA testing. We'll do any testing, the fighters will do all and any testing required by Texas and the WBO. It seems very odd to me, this. This fight's been made a while back. Golden Boy are a very experienced promoter. How can they have started the program late? I mean, this is basic stuff, right?
Yeah, and look, the thing is that we started late, so therefore we're just not going to do it at all. It's like, what? They started late, they did it for a while, and then they dropped it. Is that what they're saying? Or they started late, so late that they're going to give up now. They haven't even done one test 3 weeks before it.
It says, we tried to start the program. Unfortunately, it was late. I mean, is that an excuse?
That doesn't even say that they did it or they didn't do it.
No, it doesn't.
Makes sense as an excuse.
Yeah. The other thing as well, before you go in, Paul, just one thing is as well, is the Texas Commission is known to be one of the worst commissions in America. They let, when Andy Lee fought, Chavez Jr. Chavez Jr. refused to give a drug test post-fight, and they did nothing about it. They let him leave. So they're a kind of a joke in American boxing circles. If you can't fight in fucking New York, and if you can't fight in LA, or you can't fight in Nevada, just go to fucking Texas. It doesn't matter if you got a brain fucking bleeding out 3 years. They let you fight.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the boxingscene.com email here. For me, this is perhaps even more bizarre, actually. September the 17th super welterweight title fight between unbeaten Liam Smith and former champion Saul Alvarez will no longer carry VADA random drug testing. The reason, however, is barely a ripple in the proverbial pond and is no cause for alarm. Both boxers agreed to such testing prior to signing the fight on their HBO pay-per-view headliner, which takes place at the AT&T Stadium. However, the timing of the starting point, combined with other concerns, resulted in the idea being scrapped in recent days. I mean, they haven't elaborated whatsoever. Timing and other concerns.
Somebody said to me that heard some video doing. I think I might have been Boxing Eagle, an American channel. He was saying, he's talking about the cost. But look, that's a mega money fight, and the cost for drug testing for those boys for the thing is I think I remember it's like 10 or 15,000 for the two of them for the 3 months or whatever.
Yeah, it's 10,000.
Yeah. So it's not even fucking Canelo would probably go out on a night out in a casino and spend that.
Yeah. This is clear. I mean, all that kind of other reasons, that's all when the speech writers write the speeches for the politicians and they word it in such a way that it's non-committal, and it's just kind of a way to say it and try and hoodwink people. Basically, what the crack is, as I can't remember who it was that's already said it. Canelo needs the diuretics to get down to the weight. We all know he's a fucking monster, and so he's just said to the Smith camp, let's scrap the VADA testing, because VADA are stringent as fuck. They've got the tightest kind of parameters in which they will allow you to pass and stuff, and they're known for being I don't know if there's such a thing as incorruptible, but they are known for being one of the most sort of reputable anti-doping organisations. So that's basically what this is. It's obvious. It's obvious to everybody with a brain.
It is very bizarre, and what is even more bizarre is the terrible attempt to explain it. I mean, they haven't even really bothered to explain it. They've just kind of pushed it under the carpet completely here, and yeah, it's a real bizarre situation. Jet, anything to add on this one, mate?
No, not really, to be honest. I think everything's been mentioned. Canelo's huge for the weight. He's gonna need something dodgy to get down, and Liam Smith's just thought, what, sod it, no point. I'm gonna get a shit ton of money, get some good exposure on HBO pay-per-view over in the States. So he's probably thought, nah, forget it. There's no point. So yeah, pretty much just echoing what everyone said. Nothing.
I've got to say, to be even-handed, this report in itself is clearly no evidence of any wrongdoing on any particular party. Having said that, it's highly questionable. It's bizarre. It doesn't add up, and it is certainly suggestive of a bizarre situation going on behind the scenes. I would be fascinated if somebody who interviews Liam Smith, whether it's IFL TV or one of the other main YouTube channels, ask him the question, why were you happy to avoid the VADA testing? What is the situation here? You know, it's a bizarre situation.
There's something fishy going on. I'm sure. It's something dodgy going on. You can't just randomly stop or abort, testing, drug testing in general, even if it is one of the slightly less reputable companies or organizations, sorry, such as like USADA or those sort of ones. I mean, even then, if you're quitting that testing, something is definitely planning to go on, I guess, in terms of one or the other's camp, but more likely than not to be in Canelo's camp. But I guess we'll wait and see. We can't don't judge a book by its cover is the saying, the cliched saying. But we'll wait and see. I guess come fight night, after fight night, and that sort of stuff. What facts and figures come out.
The thing is, Liam Smith will have been well schooled as to what to say in interviews regarding this. So I don't think much will come out if IFL talk to him or whatever. There'll be a line and he'll just stick to it, I would imagine.
You're probably right, Paul. What's bizarre is if they'd have just had no drug testing, it could have flown under the radar a bit more. But having drug testing and then removing it is pretty bizarre, especially when the fighter, who's known for being big for the weight, has come out with a statement saying that this is the very last time they'll fight at 154. It's not painting. This is not evidence. This is all circumstantial. But they need to be aware that what they're putting out, Canelo won't fight at 154 anymore. Canelo won't be doing VADA testing. We'll start VADA testing. No, we won't start VADA testing. It's consistently painting a strange picture, and unfortunately, perception is 9/10 of the law sometimes, as people say, and it's a concern. Sorry, anything to add on this one, mate?
Yeah, it does seem a bit suspicious. You know what I mean? Like, why would you drop that now? I think, look, with all these fights, I think all of them need the VADA testing. At the end of the day, I'm not saying any organization is free from corruption, but I think the voluntary anti-doping is the best, the best that they can get. But I don't know. I think Canelo obviously dropping down the extra pound is going to be a tough one for him, isn't it? Since the last time he did that was against Austin Trout, hitting 154 exactly, and we all know how much of a weight cut he does to get to 155, let alone the extra pound. And I know, we're not boxers, but that extra pound does kill them. You know what I mean? So in that regard, it could be the diuretics thing. And like Irish Tom said, and Boxing Ego in his video, he said that the excuse could be that it's very, very expensive, but at the same time they're earning millions of dollars, so it shouldn't be an issue. We shouldn't let them off because of that, because they're earning so much money anyway. It is what it is, but I don't see any reason why it shouldn't happen. I think they should be slaughtered for that. I don't think it's Liam Smith. It's going to be from Canelo's side and Golden Boy, because they're calling the shots here. But it is what it is. But I'm not impressed.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary there. Okay, well, it looks like we're unanimous on that one. Robert Guerrero and Angulo both lost on the weekend. We can talk over the fights if there's any real urge to talk over the fights. I've got limited interest in them myself. Quick question around the panel is, Robert Guerrero, Angulo, are we done with them? Does anyone want to... anyone have any interest in seeing them again? Jet, let's go with yourself, mate.
Yeah, I mean, no interest whatsoever. Robert Guerrero, do you know what it is with Robert Guerrero? He's one of those fighters that tend to fight to the level of opposition. We saw he done pretty decently against Danny Garcia, but this guy, he was expected to beat him, and beat him quite handily, and he really, really struggled with him. Who was the other one? I think Kamagai. He went life and death with Kamagai. There's a few other guys that he's went life and death with that he's supposed to be, he's supposed to win with a bit in hand. So I don't know with Robert Guerrero. He's one of those guys that he's like a people pleaser now. His style's definitely turned into pleasing the fans. If you hear all his post-fight interviews and stuff, he goes, "I'm doing this for the fans" and that sort of stuff. I don't think that's always the best way to go down in your career, especially if you're taking hard blows. I think he gets good ratings on PBC and NBC, Fox, all those channels. So he'll probably end up continuing, knowing him. Angulo, certainly no interest whatsoever. He looked awful, like absolutely terrible. And he's fighting probably 2 weight classes above what he should be fighting. He should be fighting at 154, not 168. And he just looks slow, plodding. Unresponsive, unreactive. He was, I don't know. Angulo's terrible. There was an interesting fight on the undercard as well. It was Terrell Gausha versus Steve Martinez. I don't know if anyone saw that. Gausha's a 2012 Olympian, and he was kind of like talked about and highly rated. Comparing to another Olympian, Erickson Lubin. I think Erickson Lubin is a much better prospect. So the scoring was very tight. Some people say Steve Martinez got robbed in that fight, but Gausha, don't really rate him that much as well. That's my thoughts on the weekend's action as well.
Good stuff, mate. Appreciate that. Paul, your take on the weekend's action?
Yeah, I saw that fight as well, Jet. And I actually thought Gausha lost. I thought he was very wild towards the end. He seemed to get a bit desperate towards the end, and he looked a bit wild for my money. Same, to be honest, I just have to echo exactly what Jet said about Guerrero and Angulo. Just I've no interest in seeing them anymore. I mean, obviously, we don't know what's going on in people's lives and the reasons why they might want to continue to fight. Maybe it's money, I don't know, but neither man seems to me, certainly in my view, to have that much to really offer anymore. Guerrero is, I don't know why, but Guerrero's always had one of them styles that he just always seems just so forgettable to me. I can watch a fight and then a week later I'm struggling to sort of pick out anything sort of significant from what he did in that fight. He's just very forgettable in recent years for me. Angulo, I did used to like Angulo, but as Jet pointed out, he seems to have gotten old. It's not much interest in him anymore, to be fair.
Fair enough, mate. I think you're certainly in the same boat as myself there. Tom, did you watch the fights, mate?
I didn't. I just watched the highlights, and that was enough for me. Whether I think are they shot or not? I think they should be fucking taken out the back alley and shot. That's what I think. I don't want to see them again.
Fair enough. Seri, anything to add, mate?
I think, look, they both, they've had they've had better days. They've had their big fights. They made the money. Robert Guerrero's going to arguably beat Mayweather, Thurman, and Garcia. I'm joking. Basically, look, he went against Garcia. He did pretty well, but apart from that, it is what it is. He's not. At the weight class, he was never good at welterweight. He was good at the lower weight classes, and he's a much more technical boxer. As he got into the heavier weight classes, he had to rely more on size and toughness. He couldn't really use that against the bigger men. But it's like that old Robert Guerrero never really existed in that regard. You know what I mean? He's a multiple-time world champion as well. So it's a bit of an upsetting thing when you think about it because of how good he was. But these things happen in boxing. He's jumped up for the money. He's made a hell of a lot of money. In his last 2 fights, he's made 1.7 million, and that is crazy. Against Garcia in January, he made 1.25 million, and then he's made 500 grand the other night. And he's a warrior, and he'll always be there about as a decent, respectable name. But he's not top class anymore. Angulo hasn't been top class at any point in his career, but he's always been a guy who will give you a tough fight, and that was proven against Lara, Canelo. He's had some very good fights. But again, his better days are behind him. So both men, I don't think they need to retire. They can carry on fighting and making money for the families, but they're not guys who are necessarily going to get the top fights now, because I can't see who Guerrero can fight at welterweight where he presents a good B-side. and I can't see Angulo can fight at 154. It's not really, neither of them are viable options now as actual threats against top guys.
Fair, fair. Yeah, I think you're spot on with the point about following following the money, mate. I think Robert Guerrero is the classic example of that, really. He's fought in an inappropriate weight class with an inappropriate style for several years now, just in pursuit of the money. But it has paid off for him, I guess. Guys, we've actually, it's slightly earlier than usual. We've come to the end of our agenda for tonight. Let's go around the panel and see if anyone's got anything further to add, anything new to throw into the mix. Jet, yourself.
Oh, I have loads to add, but we are the best podcast on YouTube, so only the meatiest of topics can suffice.
Yeah, that was my quote earlier when Jet was looking to talk about the super flyweight division in. Oh, I'm kidding, mate. You go for it.
No, not much. We've covered most of the stuff that needs to be covered, to be honest.
Fair enough. Paul, anything from yourself, mate?
There was just one thing. Somebody, I won't mention any names, another channel was talking. Well, put out a video about this in the week, and I was just curious to see what people thought. But the sort of gist of it was, if when the Kovalev-Ward fight happened, you see how everyone's pretty much saying whoever wins that's going to be number one pound for pound. The person that put this video out actually suggested, and I think he's got a bit of quite a good point actually, that if Roman Gonzalez beats Cuadras, because I don't know if you guys know, Roman Gonzalez is moving up again to fight a bit of a killer at Superfly, and the argument is that actually, if you know, like with what Roman Gonzalez has done already, if he then moves up a weight and wins a title in his first fight at that and beats Cuadras, that in actual fact, you know, he's clearly the pound for pound number one. I just wondered what people kind of thought about that. I think we can be swayed in a lot of ways by the fact that some of the names that guys like Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev have beaten are more well known to us, and that we might not have heard of some of the guys that Roman Gonzalez has beaten, but definitely guys like Estrada. These are guys that are sort of like real killers at that weight, and he has beaten a lot of real top guys like Soto. I'm trying to think now as well. I think it might have been Vasquez as well. So I just wondered what people thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, my perspective has always been that Roman Gonzalez is a quality fighter in his division, but unfortunately, from my perspective, and I'll say it how I see it, wins in those divisions mean less than wins in the big divisions. And the reason being that there's so few men who are actually that small, and so few guys who fight at that weight, that there isn't the depth of quality and the depth of names that there are in the divisions that, being frank, the more normal-sized people fight in. So I'm just saying it how I see it. I view those as very niche divisions because it's very rare to get men of that size. And as a result, the guys he's beaten, I know Estrada's a name, I know the guy he's going in next with is a name, but I just don't think it's comparable to a guy like Andre Ward, who's beaten Chad Dawson and Carl Frotz and Arthur Abraham. I think to be the very top of the pound for pound list, you've got to have wins over other guys who are in conversation of the pound for pound list. And for me, the guys who are putting Estrada on their pound for pound top 10 list are doing that to be boxing hipsters, as the phrase is, and to show how hardcore they are and show what knowledge they have. You know, I don't think we can legitimately be saying that Roman Gonzalez is running through pound for pound top 10, top 15 level opposition. Sure, they're good fighters. Sure, he's the number one in his division, and maybe he can get there. But for me, I'm just not seeing the depth in resume that I'm seeing in some of the other weight classes, and that's not his fault. Just like it's not GGG's fault, he's not fought the top guys. But until they fought recognised world-class pound-for-pound operators, for me, I've got them behind the Wards and the Kovalevs and the Pacquiaos, mate.
But sure, Tom, what's normal size? Like, there's about 2 billion people in Asia that are smaller than the West than we are. That's just us being racist, to be honest.
Well, mate, I mean, what weight is
normal people? You call them normal people. Like, you go to China, man, the average height...
I said normal sized people. What weight?
Yeah, I know.
What weight is Roman Gonzalez fighting at?
He's super fly, so he's probably fighting at 8.5. He's probably walking around at 10 stone. Is he 140?
About 129.
Maybe 9 stone.
120.
9 stone. But like, you go to China, Tom, or Asia. Like, the average height in the Western world is like 5'9", but you go to Asia, it's probably about 5'6".
Yeah,
like
Thailand, places like that.
The average fighting weight probably for a Western guy, for a European guy, is probably light middleweight or something like that. But if you go to the average for an Asian guy, is probably like, featherweight or something, So it's probably the equivalent of a Western guy fighting a featherweight. So there's loads, and you got all South America, you got Mexico, you got Central America. You got probably about 2 billion people that are, going to be fighting in them weight classes. So, like, I think it's more to do with people prefer to watch big guys fighting.
If you're talking about pound for pound level guys, and you're saying the top pound for pound level guys are guys who've beaten other pound for pound top fighters, you can't really be. It's just a fact of the matter that the top fighters in the sport, the guys who are considered the top of the sport, are not operating at flyweight, super flyweight.
You don't get into it. Like, the thing is, the smaller weights don't get the access, and so the fact that they're not on the top pound for pound is not a judging of whether they're good enough. It's probably also a judging of whether they sell well in the big markets, and that's obviously they don't get the same rating. And most pound for pound guys in the top 10 don't fight other pound for pound guys. We see one a year where a top 10 pound for pound fights another top 10 pound for pound.
Yeah, I was just about to say
Lots
that.
of them don't have any pound for pound people on their record.
If you look at the current top 10 pound for pound list, I don't think any of them have fought any of the others in that list.
Like, Pacquiao has fought people that were pound for pound. He's fought Cotto and Mayweather. But apart from Pacquiao, like, I suppose you could say Andre Ward fought Froch, and I think Froch might have been sneaking into pound for pound when he fought him.
He probably
but that's about it.
In the current list, I don't think any of them have fought each other.
I don't think so either. So I think a lot of it is a bias against the small man. But I don't watch him either, so what the fuck do I know?
Well, I'm pulling up the super flyweight division here. We've got 592 registered super flyweights on BoxRec. Now, there's more than double that of super middles, and there's more than treble that of middles. So I suggest my comment is actually correct, that there are fewer people.
What about heavyweights? What about heavyweights?
I can pull that up now. Let me have a look.
There's no need to defend the fact that you're racist, Tom. It's cool.
You had to have that one-liner from Sherry.
Yeah, heavyweights is more than double, nearly treble, mate. So it's a fact that because fighting at that weight is more of a niche thing, there are less people competing. It is less competitive. There are less registered fighters.
We understand.
Yeah, but Tom, though,
it's not a
one thing you have to take
fact.
No, but the thing is that, if there's less money in the smaller weights, it's going to be able to support less professionals. So it's not just a simple thing that there are less professionals fighting in there, therefore it's worse. There's a lot more money in the heavyweights. That's why more guys fight heavyweight professionally than do the smaller weights.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
It's not just a simple.
Well, not true, because there's less heavyweights than there are middleweights and light heavyweights.
Yes, because there are less heavyweight men. there are less men
That's
who
what
are
I'm
actually
saying
that big.
about the there's some flyweights, but yeah, I mean,
Yes, but there's much more money as a heavyweight. You know that if you're fighting a heavyweight world title fight versus a bantamweight, you're probably getting 4 times the money. You know, even if you're a shit heavyweight champion, you'll be getting 4 times the money of the current bantamweight thing. So the actual smaller weights, they can't support as much people and give guys a living like the top weights are, because people like looking at big dudes knocking their fucking heads off.
Yeah, I mean, Gonzalez started off at minimum weight, and he's already moved through about 3, I think 3 or 4.
Four. I think it's 4 minimum. Draw.
I think it's a pretty good argument to say if he moves up
4 or 5, I think.
I think there's a good argument to say he should be pound for pound number 1 at 44-0, 45-0 or whatever, 38 knockouts. Because if you look at the criteria as well, the criteria is also the manner in which the wins were all losses in the case of somebody that comes down the pound for pound list, and the manner in which they were achieved and stuff. And I think there's definitely an argument for it. But I just wondered what everybody else thought. I didn't know it was gonna spark a race debate.
A race war.
Yeah.
I now understand why Gossip eradicates my suggestions on all of the emails about the lighter weight classes. I now know why.
There you go.
It's all kicking off here tonight, lads. It's all kicking off.
5 worthy pay-per-view. Tom versus Tom.
Yeah, and Tom blocked the assault from Jet, and I came in with it round the back. Like.
Oh yeah.
I abstained from any abuse. I got the abuse from the emails, ignoring my emails. So,
I'm telling you, like Jet.
You're not upset about that at all, are you, Jet?
Jet, in the chat we're talking about how me and you were going to be fighting first, so I'm going to sort you out and then I'll sort out Gossip.
Oh yeah, no, I'll sort you out, mate. And we were talking about this on the live show. Let's all have a spar. That's what the
fat fucking chance. I'd say the 2 of you would beat the living shit out of me.
Well, Gossip's what 6'4", so you know, it's not inconceivable that he'd tower over us like a Tyson Fury type figure. I'm only 6'1", so yeah, I wouldn't like to step in the ring with a menace like him after all my email being ignored.
Yeah, but like Eddie Hearn would say, I'm a massive super bantamweight.
Yeah. Harry was power.
Are you really 6'4"?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably a bit bigger than that, to be honest. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
Have you not seen a photo of me in Oville, mate?
No.
Oh, I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Shit.
got a newfound respect now, hey?
Well,
Be careful, man.
I bow to your awesomeness, Gossip. I'll never make more suggestions anymore.
Yeah, the respect is definitely newfound.
Charlie's put in the chat, Tom isn't 6'4", she's 5'9" at most.
I think we need to find out what his reach is as well and start figuring out how to beat him. What's the game plan?
His reach is all the way out through the YouTube boxing community. That's his reach. What do you call it? I have something I need to talk about it. You can get 1.36 on GGG to KO Brook.
Yeah.
1 to 3.
I told you this was going to happen, though, didn't I?
I don't know about odds. What does that mean?
That means if you put down £1, you get £1.36 back, including your original £1 stake. So
that's quite shit, isn't it?
I think that's pretty good.
Is it good? Okay, I don't know about
like a hardcore sort of.
It's basically saying like Golovkin knocks him out 75% of the time.
How much would I get for £100 on that, Tom?
You get your £100 back and an extra £36 in winning.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
But lads, you get 1 point.
If you're a heavy gambler,
it's 1 point. It's £1.19 you get back. So it's 1.19. So you get back £1.19 on Golovkin winning, just him winning, and you get £1.36 on him by KO. So they're saying the odds are kind of saying like literally only 50% chance of the KO. I think if he wins, it's way higher than that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I think it's like the chance this goes to points is fucking. I think 5%.
Golovkin hasn't been taken to points since 2008.
I know, like if he wins, he's going to knock him out. I can't see him not knocking him out.
It's all over within 6 rounds.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to take the sustained beatings, the variety of punches this guy throws as well. He throws some funny, like there's a left hook and right uppercut combination where he throws them both at the same time. He lands them. I don't know how the hell he does it. In slow motion. It doesn't make any sense, but...
He makes the opponent sort of go upstairs, and then he does a left hook to the body. It's an unorthodox left hook to the body. He done that to Macklin, didn't he?
He throws hellacious body shots as well. Fucking evil, man.
He makes the guy go upstairs, and he switches his punches downstairs.
I think
very methodical.
To just echo what Jet and Paul just said. Do you remember before Kell Brook was meant to face Chavez, and he had the sparring match against? Oh, sorry, sparring match. He was sparring with the guy that faced Shane Mosley, David Avanesian.
Yeah.
And he broke his rib, didn't he, in sparring? So or he damaged his rib, whatever you want to call it. If this guy is doing that to him, what's bloody Golovkin going to do to him?
I know, yeah.
I don't care how much weight you got on you. That's for me. That's going to be a problem for Brook. I think he's going to hurt him bad, man.
Well, when you break your ribs, it weakens them as well. They're more susceptible to being broken again. I mean, that's what I said. I mean, I actually fear for Brook. I fear for him.
It's going to be brutal. I think it's going to be
really.
But you know what it is? I also want to play devil's advocate because I watched. I don't know if you guys have watched Hatman's latest video. I watched it earlier before the podcast. Where you see it, Tom?
Yeah.
Where he's saying about that Golovkin's whole team are already talking about his next fight and what he's going to do next year and how they're overlooking Brook and obviously there have been bigger upsets like Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson and stuff like that. But he said he's not picking Brook by any means, but he said it's just that it's a show of mentality and the fact that they're not taking this fight overly serious. It's like a pretty much foregone conclusion. But the question I have for you guys is, forget whether Brook knocks him out or points. Let's rule out a robbery. Let's put that aside. If Brook beats Golovkin, what do we say then?
Well done.
Yeah, like it'll be the biggest surprise since fucking what you call him? Since Randolph Turpin bought fucking beat fucking seriously, and for a British boxer, since Randolph Turpin beat fucking Sugar Ray Robinson, it'll be the biggest result since then. The last time I think there's been a big result like that in Britain in a British fighter was Nigel Benn against McClelland. Yeah, and Nigel Benn against McClelland, they were both middleweights or super middles at the time.
Yeah, well,
one's not going up 2 divisions.
Yeah, I watched that Hatman video, and that was what I was thinking all the way through. He was talking about Buster Douglas when Tyson overlooked Buster Douglas, but they were both heavyweight.
Same weight.
Yeah, and Tyson was out shagging Japanese birds and rubbing cocaine on his knob every night of the week.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it's just not the same at all.
There's nothing here to suggest that Brook's going to.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where if by somehow this happens and he does beat him, is it going to be a matter of us saying Kell Brook is the the most amazing fighter in the world, or is it going to be Golovkin was overrated?
Depends on how he beats him.
How the fight goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Overrated.
I just want to know what it's going to be if that happens, but it's not going to happen. But I'm still also debating whether to go or not. I'm thinking once in a lifetime he might never come back.
If he puts on an absolute boxing clinic, if he puts on a total clinic and boxes on the back foot and does it, I give him all the props in the world. But I don't think he has it in him.
You know what it is, Tom. I was thinking about the back foot thing, but he can't do it. And it's not that the fighter I'm about to mention. It's not that we even know that much about him. But when you look back at their fight with Golovkin and Willie Monroe, who would you say is a bigger, stronger guy? It's Willie Monroe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at the size of it, massive.
Curtis Stevens. Look at Curtis Stevens.
Curtis Stevens, well, they both have physical specimens, big, stocky guys, good and strong at the weight. And Willie Monroe, to be fair, the performance he put on, I was quite impressed. I thought he looked pretty slick. For the way he tried to take on Golovkin, and he wasn't.
He's not a bad fighter, Monroe.
Exactly. It's the way Golovkin made him look. And my concern is, in fact, I'd even go as far to say that Kell Brook, to me, isn't necessarily slick. I'd say Willie Monroe's pretty slick in what he did, but once he was cornered, that was it. And if Golovkin corners Brook, what's going to happen then? That's the question to ask.
Monroe's fighting Rosado on the Canelo undercard.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good little scrap.
It'll be a good little scrap. Yeah.
I don't know if you boys. I don't know if you boys saw the Ultratech video. I know he's had about 40 come out in the last day, but he had one where he's interviewing the coach guy and they're talking about the Kell Brook fight. And he's saying,
that's really, really good stuff, I thought.
yeah, really good. And he was saying like the coach fella was, what's his name again? Do you know his name, Tom?
I can't remember it, mate.
Cash. Cash. Or Darren, anyway, I forget. But he was saying that, like, to put on extra muscle like that, you need to put on, what you're trying to do is put on stuff that's really cardiovascular efficient. And, like, you just can't do that in a short period of time. And that he's going to totally feel it in the second half of this fight. And there's just no way.
He's not going to get to the second half.
If he does, though, even if he does, he's going to gas. He won't be able to carry that extra weight.
I think what Kell Brook's thinking is the way he won the Porter fight is his only chance, and I think he's putting on the extra weight so he feels like he's got the strength to actually do that with a guy the size of Golovkin. Obviously, it's a if that is what he's thinking, it's a pretty flawed plan. Because Golovkin's just going to jab him to fucking death and then corner him as Sherry said and unload on him and I just don't see Kell Brook being able to withstand that at all.
Yeah, Sherry, what you were saying you were contemplating on going. I think there was an article on Box Team yesterday. He said he's willing to come back to the UK straight after. Yeah, so.
I think there's a good chance he will be back, lads.
Yeah.
There's Saunders, there's Andy Lee, there's Eubank. You know, there's 2 or 3 guys that might fight.
Yo, Tom, speaking of which, is Andy Lee alive or dead? What's going on, man? He hasn't fought in December?
I haven't heard anything. Normally you would hear something from Adam Booth because he's been training Ryan Burnett because Burnett's facing Ryan Farag next, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I would have thought I would have heard something from him on IFL, but I haven't heard anything from him.
I've heard something from Adam Booth. He's gone off on a break, Andy Lee. He basically hasn't decided if he's going to fight again. He's pretty in limbo, hasn't really made a final decision, and he's basically going to go away for a little bit, come back and see if the hunger's still there. So it kind of looked like he was possibly on the verge of winding down. I think he will consider coming back to the UK because of the money, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's currently in Nepal with some Buddhist monks, covered in orange robes and singing and chanting as we speak.
Thanks for that, Irish Tom.
Sorry?
Thanks for that brilliant insight.
You're welcome. I just thought that.
Also, on the undercard, you've got Charlie Edwards and the Casemiro fight. Yeah. Do you guys think that's realistic that he's going to win, or do you think he's going to get smashed?
I think Edwards is going to win, mate. He's looked really good in training and sparring and everything. He's
okay.
Fit and focused.
I think Casemiro beats him, mate.
Exactly. I'm not going to pretend like I've seen a lot of Casemiro, but if he's a 2-weight world champion, and this is Charlie Edwards has looked good in whatever he's done so far, but that's pedigree right there. And yes, okay, Casemiro's lost, but Charlie Edwards only had 9 fights. I don't see how he's going to win.
And the thing is, Casemiro, he won the first fight against
Ruinwrong.
Yeah, Ruinwrong, and he got robbed. He got robbed, and then he really done a number on him the second time. So I don't see Charlie Edwards having the.
Casemiro's a good puncher. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Ruinwrong. Don't rate him at all. Didn't rate him beforehand, and don't rate him now.
No, I didn't. He was dirty as hell, but
terrible fight. Casemiro's good. I just think he's beatable, and I think Charlie Edwards can box him. I really think he can do it. But you know, Casemiro may knock him out, so that one is a bit of a touch and go. But I think Edwards could win.
I just think it's a step far too early for me. But you could be right, Jet.
Yeah, it could well be pro experience, but he's been an amateur for a long time, and he was a very decorated amateur. So maybe we'll see. Good fight on Intercod. Good little scrap.
Yeah, good fight it is.
So lads, what's on this weekend?
Very little, mate. Very little.
Yeah, less than last weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
I think I'll have to spend the weekend watching more GGG fights.
Yeah, it's going to be. We won't be having this dilemma when it comes to next week when we're talking about what is on this weekend, because obviously you've got lots of fights. You got Eddie Hearn's come out today and added a few new fights to the bill. I think Callum Smith, Gavin McDonnell,
Smith.
Kit Galahad, Paul Smith. Obviously, you've also got Stuart Hall versus Lee Haskins. So there'll be quite a lot of names by the time it gets to next Saturday on the bill.
There's not much on. I don't know if you know him, Naoya Inoue. He's a super flyweight champion.
He's really good.
Yeah, fantastic fighter. He's fighting on Sunday. The guy Arroyo, his brother, the guy Arroyo who faced Gonzalez recently, his brother is defending his IBF super flyweight title on Saturday. But there's not much apart from the Inoue fight, I think.
I thought it was pronounced Inoue, but whatever Inoue or whatever. His brother fight. Well, he's got a brother as well, and I think he's fighting as well.
Fighting on the card, yeah. I'm just looking at that. I'll send you the link so you guys can check it. It's quite a good website. So.
He's excellent, Inoue. Yeah, he's really, really good. Japanese.
The pound-for-pound level fighter. That's how good he is. He destroyed Omar Narvaez. He destroyed him in 3 rounds. So
yeah, that was a good performance as well.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Good stuff. Well, we've having said that we were going to finish early, we've now sort of rocked on for the 2 hours that we usually do. Lots to discuss at the end there. Before we wrap it up for the night, does anyone else have anything to add on the panel across the board?
I'd like to apologise to Gossip for calling him a racist.
Yeah, I did think that saying. I did think being branded a racist for saying the super flyweight division was less interesting and there were less people fighting on it was a bit harsh. But yeah, apology accepted, mate. You're all good. I'm not sensitive. You're not fair.
But it wasn't that. It was technically when you said normal height. That was what I called it. But
let's not go with old ground now.
This planet is not flyweight, but we can disagree.
Flyweight.
There's a 6'4" guy telling us that what's normal. Come on, boys, let's stand up for us short arses here.
Maybe I'm missing them. Maybe they're so much smaller that I'm walking down the street and missing all of these 5'3" blokes.
Yeah,
but,
probably.
You probably think they're women.
8 bloke is probably small.
You probably think they're hairy women.
Yeah. There we go. There we go. But yeah, no, that's cool. Guys, really good show tonight. Lots to discuss. So thanks to the panel as always. Thanks to everyone who joined in the chat. As always, do hit the thumbs up button. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Certainly much appreciated. Try and share it on social media to broadcast this to a wider spectrum. And next week we'll be back. It's a big one next week. I know we've discussed it a lot tonight, but we're going to discuss it some more. We'll go through the undercard in detail. It's the big fight, Kell Brook versus Golovkin. So I'm looking forward to that one, guys. Anyway, have a good evening, everyone. And yeah, thanks for your time, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, all.